Have you ever wondered if you can beat Outer Wilds in a single loop? Well, that is the question I'm aiming to answer today, where we're going to see if it is possible to get to the end credits of the base game of Outer Wilds in a single loop. So for this, we're going to start a new game and try to get to the ending without resetting the loop a single time. Progression in Outer Wilds works a little differently than most games, as there are no mechanical gates to progression, no items to pick up, barring very few exceptions. Where you can go and what you can do is entirely limited by what you know about the game. So using this information from previous playthroughs, it is possible to get to the end of the game in a single 22-minute loop. So first off, we need to head to the observatory to get the launch codes, which we can use to open up access to the ship. From there, there's a couple criteria we need to meet to be able to get to the Eye of the Universe in a single loop. First, we need the launch codes for the warp drive from Giant's Deep. I have those saved on my phone as an image from one of my previous playthroughs, so you can go do that in a loop or a previous playthrough beforehand, or we're going to wait for a period after we grab the launch code. You could go to Giant's Deep and grab them then, and then after that we need to head to the Ash Twin project to grab the warp core and also grab the distress signals from the crashed ship, which we can use to find the vessel in Dark Bramble. And once we get to Dark Bramble, we are going to fly through, avoiding the Anglerfish, and then put the warp codes and the warp drive in, which will take us to the Eye of the Universe. So here we activate the Zonai statue, which is what gives us the ability to loop in time when we die, and memories are uploaded to the Ash Twin project, which uses the power of the supernova to send us back 22 minutes. Once we remove the warp core from the Ash Twin project, we will not be able to loop anymore. So if you die during that period, that is an end to your game, and you get the game over screen. So now we're going to head to the ship and launch. And our first stop is going to be the Ash Twin project. We do not need to visit Brittle Hollow, the Interloper, or the Quantum Moon at all in this trip. And depending on whether you have the coordinates memorized or not, you don't need to visit Giant's Deep either. Take a wrong turn here and head back. We're going to wait here because the Ash Twin and Ember Twin work on a cycle of moving sand. So the sand drifts from one to the other, revealing areas on one planet and covering it up on the other. So we need to wait for enough time so that the warp gate to the Ash Twin project is open. Otherwise we're going to struggle to get to the planet's core. So while we're waiting here, time is passing at an accelerated rate, which means all the events throughout the solar system are happening, and we can choose to wake up whenever we'd like and head over to the twins. So we're going to jump in our ship, which is up here on the launch pad, which is why we grab the launch codes. And remember to grab our spacesuit, as you suffocate extremely quickly otherwise. We will not need the ship's logs for the entire run. Off we go. So here we just need to locate where we're going. We don't need to head to the Atoll Rock either, which is the moon for the planet we start on, Timber Hearth, for those who have not played the game. About now in the cycle, yeah, it should just be there. So we're going to head over to the Ember Twin, because we want to pick up the signal from the distress beacon, which we're going to use to navigate Dark Bramble. You could theoretically do it without, but it will be much more difficult. So we're going to head down to the planet and land. little roughly, but a landing's a landing. And we're going to grab that signal there, and then immediately head straight back into space. So this gives us the frequency for distress beacons. We're going to use that to find escape pod 3, which then will allow us to find the vessel, which is what we use to warp to the Eye of the Universe. So now we head over to the Ash Twin, and we need to find the right pillar, and when it's in alignment with the Ember Twin, we will be able to warp there. The only problem is, as the sand is falling from the Ash Twin to the Ember Twin, when it's in alignment, the sand is pulling away from the planet and can pull you away into the sky. So you need to stand in an alcove to make sure you don't get pulled out, and then jump into the warp gate when it passes over. So here we're just going to wait a couple minutes, shouldn't be a couple minutes, a couple seconds for it to pass over. There's a dead Nomai researcher there. So the Nomai are the race who built all of this, and we are playing as a race called the Harthians, who are discovering what the Nomai did years after the fact, because they crashed into this solar system looking for the Eye of the Universe on a ship called the Vessel, which is what we're going to use to warp to the Eye of the Universe. So they set up their stations all across these planets to help find it, as they were isolated from the rest of their species throughout space. And now here you can see the sand tide is coming over, so we're going to hide in this alcove here, and when it passes over we'll jump in, which will take us to the Ash Twin project, which is a huge warp core that powers the Nomai cycles, so that we can be revived at the end of each loop. So as you can see, we're at the center of the planet now, and we're going to head over here and disable the gravity and open up the way to the core so that we can grab it. So there we go, that's opened, and now we can go grab it. So now we're going to use this to replace a broken core on the vessel to repower the ship. If I can grab it, there we go. And now we're going to fly on over to Dark Bramble, which is going to be the last time we see the solar system for the rest of this run. Ship's over there. Whereas the Dark Bramble is a parasitic, almost Lovecraftian entity, and it's these seeds that grow and shatter planets and create these portals to this foggy domain within the planets, filled with these giant anglerfish that will eat the ship, but they are blind, so we just move slowly and quietly, they won't notice us. And as you can see, we're tracking the distress beacons, so we're just going to fly over to the planet, and the music has now changed as we've taken the warp core and moving towards the ending. So as we just fly on over to the planet, following the distress beacon, we're going to head on in, and we are going in Dark Bramble as well. We're also going to abandon our ship and follow the trail. So we're going to use an interesting technique here. So because of the way the space works in Dark Bramble, we have this ability called the Scout Launcher, which we can throw out this little camera and shoot it, and our HUD will always show us where it is. And we're going to shoot it through one of these portals like the one we just passed through to find the location of the vessel. So when we find where to shoot it to, we'll shoot that, and then follow that signal to get to the vessel. And you can see the anglerfish on either side here, just gently drifting to avoid them, because they will just immediately eat hit the ship, which will fail the run. This is the bit that caused the most resets. It took 4 attempts to get this run successfully, and 3 of them were through being eaten. 3 of the failures were through being eaten by the anglerfish. The only other one was a rather extreme crash landing onto the Ash Twin. And again, we're going to keep following the beacons. While you're in the entryways there, we can accelerate a bit more, because there's nothing listening to us. And then just keep heading through. So here we're going to find a couple more dead Nomai near the hole that we're going to shoot the scout through. And we can see their ship there and follow their lights. So these researchers were trying to recover the vessel and find their way to it. And here is another duck bramble seed. So they grow in layers, each bigger on the inside within each other. So we're now 2 or 3 seed layers deep. So definitely not a great place to be stuck, like Feldspar. Because another aspect of this game is that there are a couple other astronauts who are all stationed on each of the planet, and you can find them and talk to them, and they'll help you gather information and give you questions to answer and things to go look for. So when they each have a signal, being the instrument they play, which you can use to find them, and they will all show up in the ending. But there is another person who can show up in the ending if you visited the quantum moon called Solanum, who is the last living Nomai. He will not appear for us as we have not visited the quantum moon. Here, due to the amount of anglerfish, we're going to abandon the ship, as it is much easier to maneuver around them without it. Because if we hit any of them, they will eat us and reset our run. We're coming up on the location of the vessel now. We just need to go through 1 more seed. And we have more than enough oxygen and fuel to make the journey. And once we get far enough away from those anglerfish, we can start putting a bit of thrust in to get there quicker. These vines here can also block the anglerfish from eating you. So once you get to this cluster, you're pretty much safe and can go as fast as you need to. And then once we arrive at the vessel, it will not have any power, so we're going to need to repower it. But that's what the core is for. And then it will regain gravity and oxygen. And this area is completely safe. You can go as fast as you want through. It's just where the vessel is stored. And as you can see it coming in on the horizon there, that is our ship that's going to take us to the Eye of the Universe. So now we've pretty much wrapped up the steps to get to the end. We just need to experience the ending and grab the last puzzle in the Eye of the Universe. So from here we're going to head to the cockpit and put the new warp core in. The tree's here to get oxygen, but nowhere to get fuel. I'm going to turn the ship on. There we go. And now, using the coordinates from Giant's Deep, we can put them in. So during that time we were resting would give you more than enough time to grab them legitimately if you didn't already have them memorized. There we go. And now we're going to warp to the Eye of the Universe, which is in distant orbit to the star we were in. There's the Eye of the Universe, and now we're going to warp into it using this black hole here. So Outer Wilds, any instance of teleportation or something similar, uses black holes and white holes, and using the theory that you can travel through them to spit you out and you end up where you're trying to get to. So there was a place called the White Hole Station, which you can get to through the black hole on Brittle Hollow, which researched this. They also found out when you travel through the Nomai, found out that when you travel through the black hole, you come out from the white hole about a second before you go in, and that's the basis of how the time loops work as well, as they use enough energy through to spit you out 22 minutes before. So you can see here we're heading to the eye of the universe, and everything's getting a little strange. So this is a quantum area, so most of planets in here only exists when we're observing it, and will shift when we are not, which is why as the light flashes, the trees and the pillars are changing. So we head right here to the centre of the universe, the eye. As you can see, I can stuck on a rock here, so you can see it. And we've made it. We're then going to jump down that hole above us. Gravity will shift as we come in here. Go. So we'll climb around. We've still got enough fuel and oxygen. I'm going to jump off. We're going to go to the edges. Just go straight off. We're now very much into the ending. Just need to go through the steps of it. There's no way to fail from this point onwards. And we're back in the observatory from the start of the game. Or at least it looks like it. And when you go up to the star display, you can see the entire universe. So at this point, we have very thoroughly destroyed any intended progression, because usually we would have split our way between all of the planets, heading back and forth, discovering clues and translating things. So we don't have a lot of the context to what is happening here. Even with all the discoveries, as the eye of the universe was never explored. But from what we can piece together, it appears that the universe ends either way, and then a new one is going to take its place. You can see here, this represents all the stars going supernova in the sky throughout the game, as the stars are going out as we approach the end of the universe. And then we're going to collect some instruments and have one final jam with all the astronauts from the Outer Wilds ventures as the end of the universe approaches. Now, whether or not any of this is actually happening is up to debate as well, as we have just thrown ourselves into the eye of the universe. But if it is happening, it is probably pretty unlikely that the people who show up here are the actual astronauts themselves, and not just some quantum representation of them, as they're still at home on all of their planets. See, we head back down, and we now have signals, so we can follow the signals of the instruments to collect all of the astronauts and ourselves. So here we watch as we light a fire, and as we look away and then look back, we can roast a marshmallow as well. We need that. But as we look away and look back, you'll see the first member of the Outer Wilds Ventures pop into existence. If I remember to do so. There we go. It's Esker. So Esker is then telling us to go find the other members of the Outer Wilds Ventures. And once we collect everyone, the game will end and we'll get the final ending. So this is another puzzle based on perception. As you look away and look back, this whole building here, which you can see is full, changes and becomes more decayed until it's all gone and we can pick up the banjo. So each of these final areas has one puzzle associated with it. We're going to head over to the next instrument now. So you got Ray back here with his banjo, and he tells us to collect everyone, just like Esker. So we're going to head out and see what we can find. And we can follow the signals of the other instruments. So here we're going to follow the signs, which will lead us to the pipe. And then up here is the instrument itself, and then he'll come over and we'll have Gabbro. There you go. It's more like a recorder. And then we'll head to the next instrument. So the harmonica, as he came from Dark Bramble, is a puzzle with the anglerfish. So we head out here and then head back quietly so that the anglerfish doesn't trigger and eat us. And then once we get there, we can grab the instrument. This one's a little slower because we're waiting to avoid the anglerfish. And there's the instrument. So we can grab that. And there's some jellyfish, which also relate to him being the first person to discover how to get to the core of Giant's Deep using the jellyfish. So we'll head to the drums now. So we use the telescope here to grab it while zoomed in. And now we have all of the instruments because we can't collect Solanum because we didn't go to the Quantum Moon, so we haven't met him. So now everyone's going to start playing their instruments. And once this starts, that will be it. As we play one last song at the end of time. And you can listen to all the music. And then your signals will cut out. And it looks almost like a planet is forming up in the center there. And we just wait for that to fill out. And that is it. That's Outer Wilds in a single loop. Roast one last marshmallow. And wait for the forming of the next universe. I have also started publishing a short to go along with this video for some highlights. So there'll be one of those to go with this video as well. And we'll just watch the birth of the universe. With that's Outer Wilds done in a single loop. I have yet to play the DLC, but depending on the mechanics of it, I may do a similar run and record that as well. But until then, I hope you've all had a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. This was Outer Wilds in a single loop.